Fast moving is not the word. It is fast moving, theatrically gripping, and a very strong story centred around a young woman's journey from girlhood to young adulthood.
She's a socialist creature. Believes there shouldn't be rich or poor and one man's as good as another and such like nonsense.
Chris, get on with your lessons and your homework.
I'd met with books, and into them I went into a magic land far away and south.
At school they say she's a clever one, but so was wee Tony the Dafty.
Well, your sister sticks to her lesson sheet of her education. Time she might come out a teacher. Do me credit.
That's fine of father.
This story is about the destruction of a particular rural community by the First World War. Essentially what happens is a community that is already struggling with mechanisation, beginning to replace the economic possibilities of small farms. The war takes all the men away and they don't come back.
Everybody I meet at the moment says one of two things, or both of these things. I'm from the Northeast, or, oh, it's my favourite book of all time. It's an incredibly popular Scottish novel, a classic, a brilliant classic, and leaving enough room for the imagination of the audience member to fill with their own idea of what this story is about is important, at the same time as satisfying what I think is interesting, most interesting about the story.
The challenge, I think, is it's such an iconic book, and it is also such an important time, that change of life pre and post the First World War, and it's such an important time right now also. So I think there are resonances that go through the years, and people are very much aware of the First World War now with all the fantastic programs that have been made. And one of the biggest design challenges really was that there's a rather beautiful film being made as we speak. So it was about how do we make this theatre.
He cut the corn with an old reaper, and Chris and me must sweat and swither in the heat, pouncing on the sheaves and gathering and binding, and pouncing and gathering and binding, till your back near cracked with the strain of bending.
Damn it! There's nothing to beat this scythe. The scythe will yet come back into its own when the reapers and binders are rotting and rust. And folk breed the old, breed again.
Every harvest there came something queer and terrible on father. You couldn't handle it with a name. It was as if he grew stronger, crueler, ripe with the strength of the corn, sweeter than ever. Brought sweat to the palms of your hands.
As a madness comes in the blood at harvest, it touches us all. Guthrie would twitch about in the biggings and glare at the packs and glower and want to work night as well as day. Away.
When Sunset Song first appeared on the horizon of most people in Scotland, I was there. There was a BBC adaptation of it in the 1960s, early 70s. And just the simple fact of a story about Scottish life with Scottish identity that was neither sentimentalised nor turned into comedy was enormously important to Scottish people at the time. It gave us a sense of identity. It gave us a sense that our stories were worth telling.
My job is to bring the play to life visually, and it is to illustrate the story, because basically a theatre designer is a storyteller.
So my role is really to feel with the lighting and to compose the space and to create a world that the audience will believe and create an image that is important
What attracted me to Chris? She's an incredibly strong woman. She goes on this amazing journey through the book and through the adaptation. She goes from 15 to kind of 30, and it's an amazing journey from kind of girlhood to womanhood, if you like. And the most amazing things happen to her throughout the course of the show. Some terrible things, and she remains grounded and strong.
During the rehearsals, I've learned about my character. There's a lot of layers to him. Ewan's not just a kind of one-dimensional character. He's this hard-working man that works the land's in his bones. But when he meets young Chris, people start to see this softer side to him that he's probably not shown previously.
Most of the audience come to see it will have their version of John Guthrie in their head from having seen previous productions or having read the book. So I'm never going to be able to please...
No pressure then.
No pressure. I'm never going to be able to please everyone, so all I can do is try to be truthful to what I read as Gibbons Guthrie and what I read as Alistair Cording's adaptation of that. All I can do is be truthful to that and try and come out with the best I can.
See, Mother, I've no one to be friends with now.
Right enough, Mother. The other quines of an age with Chris are just gowks and gomerals, screeching round the barns at night with the ploughman snickering after them.
Shameless lummers! You'll steer clear of them, eh? Stick to your lessons and see you make a name for yourself.
Oh, John, there's no harm in the young folk courting. Be careful her head doesn't soften with the lessons.
Would you rather see her skite with the book learning, or skite with the flesh in a birren of bairns?
Skite with the flesh? Well, you'd know all about that, John.
I've been very lucky over the past year to be involved in 2 First World War projects, looking at local stories about the First World War in Scotland, in Falkirk and also in Edinburgh, and also looking at the Liverpool Scottish regiments, the London and the Newcastle Scottish, so looking at the diaspora as well. And reading a lot about the munition girls who worked all the way down the Clyde, and their fight on the home front, fighting for wages, equal wages, fighting for health and safety, fighting to just get through the shifts, being scalped literally at times. So an incredible effort by the women in Scotland, whether it be on the land or whether it be in the factories. And their stories are extraordinary, they really are.
It's a very particular understanding of the war, which is that's to do with how villages lost all their men, how rural places were deeply affected by that, and by the removal of that huge part of the cultural life. You know, so many of the men went away, and the young men particularly. If you take those out of small communities, those particular people, or any of the people out of a small community, you have a really profound effect on the generation-to-generation relationship. Also, I think in some positive ways, the First World War helped with the advancement of society, because women had to work in a different way often, and that was as true in the country as it was in the cities where there were munitions factories and things. But women had to manage, and they saw that they could be in charge of aspects of their lives that for a good number of generations they hadn't had ownership over.
Will he name Elilton?